automobile was made in 1768 before the Revolutionary War in France by a French artillery officer. The goal was to tow artillery pieces, and the prototype actually worked until they crashed it. The next significant automobile was an amphibious automobile made by an American genius, Oliver Evans, in 1805. It ran on the shore, had a steam engine, and it was a dredge in the Schuylkill River back east. About the next the next bunch of automobiles were scaled-down locomotives. This one weighed something like 5 tons, held 8 passengers, and you got to sit on the boiler. That was a good thing. Sylvester Roper made small steam engines that he put in a motorcycle and steam carriages, and he died when he was about 70 years old, racing a steam motorcycle around a track at 40 miles an hour. The Frenchman Lenoir was the first one who made an internal combustion engine. The others had been steam. It wasn't very powerful because they didn't compress the gases, and it was a 2-stroke engine. Another Frenchman made this 8-ton automobile. It held 12 passengers, and it tooled around the streets of Paris. Went about 5 miles an hour. And an American, George Long, made very small steam engines. His were the first gasoline-powered cars, but it was a steam engine. He used gasoline to boil the water in the steam vessel. Never was much of a success, but they actually worked. And then Daimler came out with a test vehicle. It was kind of a motorcycle. He had worked in the shop of a guy named Otto, who came up with the 4-stroke engine, and he and another co-worker named Benz started making a car. Benz made a very nicely tooled 3-wheel buggy. Each of these would do about 5 to 10 miles an hour. And they went on various rides around the countryside in Germany, formed a partnership, Daimler-Benz, and they started making pretty decent cars. Serpollet made a steam vehicle. He went on a 286-mile trip with this thing. It was steam, and it took him 15 days for the trip, but this was the first road trip, basically. John Lambert was an American inventor. He built 3 prototypes and destroyed them all. He crashed one into a stump, and it was destroyed. He burned up the shop that he was working in. He burned 2 of the prototypes in the shop, but he eventually made cars. Lenoir, the guy who made the 8-ton vehicle, switched over to internal combustion and made the first ejector seat in the front of this thing. It was a motorcycle, internal combustion, gasoline. Studebaker made their fame by making wagons for pioneers to cross the plains. And then they made electric vehicles, and then later they made internal combustion vehicles. They were the Hummer of the wagons. But Duryea made the most durable car in the world. This was a U.S. car maker. They beat the Daimler-Benz vehicles in races. They beat the electric cars in races. This was the dominant car in the 1890s. Elwood Hayes was a principal and a chemist in Indianapolis, high school principal. He was the first millionaire in Indiana, and he made cars into the 1920s. And for each one of these cars, there's probably 20 other car makers that were active at that time. George Selden filed the first patent on a U.S. car, the first U.S. patent on a car. It was for a 2-stroke car, and he never built the car, but he licensed the patent to everybody. Ford came out with, Ford's first car was a steam car, or electric car, excuse me. This was the quadricycle, which he used to get financing for Ford Motor Company. And then they made the Model T. And electric was big for a long time. They made great electric vehicles. Riker set a speed record in 1901 of 57 miles an hour. On electric, that's pretty decent. They were killed by the electric starter, basically. Stanley Steamer was a great, great steam car. They set a world record in 1904. They had a run of 150 miles an hour on a vehicle with bicycle wheels, if you can imagine. And lastly, one of the later technologies, they converted cars to run on wood gas. And in World War II, lots of cars ran on wood gas. And Ford and GM made kits that you could convert any car to running on wood gas. So we